Welcome back, family, friends, and fans. We are doing another upcycle video using this beautiful gift bag. And funny story, my mom gifted me this bag for Mother's Day, and I ended up practicing my first wallflower using it. I'm also going to be showing you guys how I use two methods to make all of these flowers for my daughter's party. So keep watching. I started with a typing paper. On the fold, I drew my pattern, and on the fold, I cut my pattern. I then measured on the fold different smaller sizes and repeated those steps so that I had, and this is really just all eyeballing it. I do have a mat that does help me measure a little bit as well, but I didn't really use the rulers, just eyeballing it. And just make sure that you're drawing and cutting on the fold so that both sides are the same, they're equidistant and the same shape. So I opened up my shopping bag, and now the goal is for you to take your pattern piece and trace it on. But before we do that, I want to remove the ribbons, which we'll be using later, and open up my bag. I want to place my pattern justification top left, and I'm gonna start drawing my petals. So for the big one, I did 6 pieces. For the medium one, I did 8. And for the small ones, I did about 9 or 10. Later on, I go on to do smaller, even tinier petals. One downside to working with a shopping bag are all of these unfortunate creases. So I will also later on be showing you guys how to avoid these creases and how to improve your next wallflower. Meantime, what you need to do is cut these petals, and that's the first step. Well, the second or third step. Then you have these are the petals. I feel like they're mediocre at best, but I'm gonna make them work, and I am gonna use them for the party. So you're going to make a slit in what you deem to be the bottom part, and that's the part that you want to have on the base. And you're gonna make a slit. I made this. My slits are about 2 3/4 inches deep. You can make them as deep or as shallow as you'd like. And then you just cross over one side and glue it on the other side. Very simple. Mine look like little fish. And what that does is it creates that depth that you see in the petals. Then I'm going to take my knitting needle, and I'm going to curl the ends of the petals. And right now I'm working with a big mess because of the glue. So there's a mess of glue everywhere, but so sorry about that. But now you just take your end and you're going to curl it on to your knitting needle. Okay, just curl it on, and you can make it as curly or as straight as you'd like. I'm gonna hide some of this glue so you guys are not so disturbed. I promise I'm cleaning it later. So there you have it. Isn't that pretty? So nice. And that's one of the plus sides for using a shopping bag. You're getting such a beautiful pattern and such a moldable, sturdy material. Now I took a glue stick and I'm curling the end of the smaller petal, and that was easy. So I have the base here, which I made from the inner part of the shopping bag. I'll show you that later. And technically for beginners, they say that you should be placing each petal one in front of the other. I am sometimes a bit impulsive and also like to just experiment and explore and learn the hard way. So I ended up fixing one of mine. And then after you've done that, so the largest on the outer skirts, and then consecutively the smaller, and then the smallest in the inner part. I made this little cup for the inner part of the flower, although moving forward for my next wallflowers, I won't be doing this little cup thing in the middle. I kind of just did it as the base for the ribbon, but nah, I it's not necessary. I feel like the less, the better. So I took the two ribbons that I removed from the shopping bag. I also added a little gold to it just to give it some depth, and I added those smaller petals that I'm touching there. I made those patterns last minute to also create some depth and a realistic look. So after all the mess was said and done, this is what it turned out like. And I really did love it. I enjoyed it. I know that I can make it better. It was my first wallflower. Um, and like I always tell you guys, I like to do videos. I do like to learn from people, but I also like to add my own little spin on things. And I feel like I'm doing that today using this shopping bag as my material for the wallflower. So you can save money and still have a beautiful, beautiful pattern and color for your party or whatever. So now what I want to do is, as well as I think this turned out, I want to show you guys how I improved the next 6 or 7 shopping bags wallflowers that I did. Um, so even though I'm speeding this up a bit, I am being very gentle here about opening up the bottom because that's where most of the damage is going to happen. You can't avoid it. It is, and I thought about using a tool, but I just wanted to have as much control with the shopping bag as possible, and I felt like I could control things a lot better with my hands. So I'm opening up the shopping bag, and there at the base is what I'm going to be using for the base, and that is the base that I used in the other flower. Now you're going to take your shopping bag, like you know, flatten it out, and then I'm going to find my paper scissors. Always use paper, don't use your fabric scissors. My paper scissors, and I'm going to cut along that crease already there. Along that edge, there's already a crease, and that's where I'm cutting. And I'm being very careful to stay on that crease because I don't want to cause more chaos. So you're going to open it up, and like we did before, I'm going to remove the ribbons. And it's great because everything about this shopping bag is being used for the flower. The inner part for the base, the ribbons for the middle part, and then the entirety of the shopping bag for the petals. I'm going to save the little card for something else, for a different project, or maybe as a little card for a gift. So it's always good to upcycle. Now I already have my patterns, but just wanted to mention every time I have a pattern, I also put it on my pattern paper, and I save my pattern paper in an album, and that's what I do for my dolls and plush toys and just different things. I always have my pattern handy. So in this case, I'm going to start justification top right, but you can start anywhere you like and continue drawing your patterns, counting them out, making sure you know that you have enough space for all of them. And so what I want to show you guys that I did differently this time, here I'm just showing you this beautiful petal. Came out really nice, no creases. What I did was, you see these holes on the top and the crease. So I made sure that the part that I want to put on the base, that's what's on the hole and the crease. And I also tried drawing within the creases instead of like right on top. For some of these, I had no choice. I had to like draw the petal right on the crease. But not only did I leave those petals for last and for the extra flowers, but it really did help because the majority of the flower didn't have creases. Also, as you can see there, I'm alternating between the rose pink shopping bag and a gold So now for these new flowers, they're going to be mixed. They're going to have both colors. Another thing that I did to help me along the process were these dashes. If you can see those dashes that I drew along the bottom, I did that because on the other side there's glue damage. And so I didn't want to waste time checking every 5 minutes. So I just drew these dashes to mark while I was drawing the petal patterns, to mark where not to draw. And so these were already there before I drew the pattern pieces. And that way I knew, okay, I won't draw beyond that line because there's damage there. That was helpful too, because the first one I lost a lot of petals due to the damage. So even though you see a lot of creases on the top, I promise you underneath there are crease-free petals, and they are very strategically placed, as you can see, so they'll be landing right on the base, most of these. The smaller ones are perfect, like they have no creases at all. But that's my takeaway, just positioning the patterns so that they wouldn't be right on the crease. And I ended up with really lovely petals. So here I took alternating ribbons from each the gold and the rose pink bag, glued them together, kind of bunched them up, glued them together, and then I glued them at the center of each flower. And look how pretty that looks mixed. And this was a smaller one, which was extra, with extra pieces that I didn't want to use for the bigger ones. And here's a small preview of the installation part in the back. That's just wire that's been hot glued with another base on top. And I'm going to get into that a little later because I know how important it is in the YouTube community to understand how to install the wallflowers once they're completed. Now here is another wallflower that I made for my daughter's party, and it was a completely different technique. I'm sorry that it's not so thorough here, but I am going to be putting some links in the description. And I made 8 of all the sizes that I decided to do in this particular pattern, and for the smallest pattern I made 12 because I used 4 to do this little inner part here. And as you can see, I'm starting with the table cover facing down to do the inner part, and then see all that inner part, and then I'm going to, it's like a 4-leaf clover, and that's how you do the center part, by the way. And then I'm going to actually after I do this one last one, then I'm going to flip it over. The next part I'm gonna make with the table cover facing up, so that now you can see the beautiful gold, and I think it adds a lot of depth to it. But back to this, I know you guys really want to know how to do this. So you've got it already hooked. All my flowers have these hooks on them, and now I take my safety pin to the back of the curtain that I'm installing it on. I put it through the hook, and then I secure the safety pin. I kind of fold back my petals to cover the hook, and that's it. It's pretty easy, but I know I've seen so many complaints on Facebook, even myself. I'm just like, how do you install it? But that's pretty much how it's done. Now, I did get to do a lot of different flowers. This one here I made with poster board and contact paper, marble contact paper and poster board. This one was a plastic mat, those rolls that you have for the kitchen. And I painted it lavender. That's a pink folder that I cut out and turned into a flower. This one you guys already know. That's my first ever wallflower with the shopping bag. And that's one of the smaller extras that are mixed. And these are just little fun fillers that I got from like those gift bags. This is the table cover flower. I made it huge, but I also did a smaller one, and I recommend that, doing alternating, like one big, one small. That's another mat that I also painted with acrylic, another like plastic kitchen mat. They come in a roll at the 99-cent store. This one is another poster board one. It's shaped a little differently, but it's the same thing, the marble contact paper on top of poster board. That's another one of the folders. Another and here's another table cover. I didn't have enough to make 2 of these, but just the one I think was enough, and I think it added great personality. Here's a smaller one of the mat, a smaller one of the gold table cover, and another smaller extra one. So guys, this is upcycling at its finest. Like, you're taking everyday things like folders, poster board, shopping bags, kitchen mats, and you're basically turning them into a decoration for your party. So here we are back at my daughter's Sweet 16 event space, and I've assembled all of them. I later on fixed them so that some of these petals are dangling down. And just here's an extra one, live and in person. And I just wanted to, one more time, there's the hook, you've got your safety pin, and let's make believe that we're on the curtain, and you're going to take the safety pin and put it through the hook, but behind the curtain, okay? Because you don't want the safety pin to show. It's okay if the hook might show a little bit, but not the safety pin. And that middle one, I later on go on to finish. And that one, bottom right justification, that one I do end up fixing, that petal that kept on dangling, because it really was a big flower, and it's such a flimsy material. I did fix it with the safety pin right behind the curtain. I was going for like this heart shape, and I think I achieved it. So I just want to thank you guys. These are the centerpieces actually that I used the shopping bag flowers for. And so yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for your loyalty and for subscribing. Yeah, please subscribe. I do want the support. It is motivating because it helps me to understand that I am doing things that people want to see and want to continue seeing. And feel free to tell me something like, what would you like me to do? I am all ears. By the way, today's shout out goes to Dolly. She's an awesome influencer. I'm gonna leave a link in my bio for her YouTube channel. Follow her on Instagram. She does need your support on YouTube, so check it out, give support, and thank you guys for watching.